Live at Onigashima. I'm Jimmy.
Jeez. I'm Anthony. And today we're doing chapter 1152, An Awful Day. And it seems like an awful day. Not in this cover story. It seems like a good day in this cover story. Yamato's here.
Yeah, the title's conflicting with the cover story. What the hell?
You know, we got Kawamatsu gets the hat. Ulti and Page One are along for the ride again. So nice. No real developments again.
Yeah.
Let's
get
move
to the
on.
good
Let's
parts
move
of the
on.
chapter. We don't need this crap.
So we're back in it. They're getting ready to go upstairs and fight Emu, and of course we get this kind of like parsed out thing now where it's like, okay, we're all gonna go up, but not Luffy just yet. Like we need the
Luffy has to hear the lore.
He's gotta hear the lore. We gotta
him.
hear. Yeah. First we need the drops. We need like the juicy details, but we'll send Zoro and Sanji up. And speaking of Zoro and Sanji,
oh my god, everything's confirmed. Sanji fans are in the mud right now.
In the mud, bro. Sanji fans, sad. But dude, Zoro didn't even know he had Conqueror's Haki. But this is like a hard confirmation, obviously. And
I mean, he literally says that he goes, "I have conquerors," and Gabon's like, "You have conquerors."
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of had the hard confirmation before, but like even more so now.
Yeah,
the nice part about this is that means Zoro's gonna start utilizing it a lot more instead of it just kind of being like, "Oh, like I kind of used it by accident" type of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, Zoro's clearly gonna get powered up. Like Gabon even says it here, is like, bro, you gotta be stronger and you gotta like be aware of these things if you're gonna be the right wing of the Pirate King. Like,
Yeah, for real.
You can't just lackadaisically keep going around, which is kind of like a nice thing to see. Like, because Zoro's usually the one to tell that to like Luffy and to other people. So for someone else to finally be like, Zoro, you gotta get your shit together.
Yeah,
also,
he was called out.
Like, he's like, oh damn, I guess you're right. My bad.
Yeah, for real. So I want to back up a little bit and address one of Gabon's comments. So he said to Luffy as he was going up there, be mindful of the way you use Conqueror's Haki. Those guys are by no means immortal. So I think what that means is that Conqueror's Haki is going to be the way to get by the regeneration thing.
Yeah.
But that kind of sparks a larger conversation of like, okay, so I guess only conquerors are ever gonna be able to beat these guys. So like, forget
That's
what
I
we
was
said
thinking,
about
too.
like
who else can even
Robin,
fight him?
you know, whatever. Like, and that also kind of leads to the point of like, is Zoro just gonna leave Sanji in the dust? Like, I don't think Sanji necessarily is like a conqueror. If anything, like Nami's the conqueror here.
No, I
So
don't know
it's
about
like-
that. But I would say, as much as I love to clown Sanji just because I'm a Zoro fan, like I do think he's going to get Conqueror's Haki, and I feel like this is Oda kind of like nodding at it a little bit. Like Sanji being, "Is it me? Am I a conqueror?" Because later on in the story, I don't think he's gonna get it like anytime soon. But I feel like by the end game, he's still gonna be one of the ones to get it. And again, it makes sense. Like we keep saying, the parallels with like Gabon and Rayleigh and Zoro and Sanji. If two of the wings of the Pirate King had it before, why shouldn't the two new Pirate Wing Kings have it?
I just think it's weird because like the Conqueror's Haki isn't usually given to people that don't want to be like rulers of some sort, or I don't know. It's weird to see conquerors.
I mean, I say it's just people with like strong
conquerors.
ambition.
Yeah, it's true.
What if Sanji becomes the king of love, just like Gabon was?
Yeah,
that's how he's gonna get it.
I guess that's true. Yeah, I mean, we do see him.
I mean,
like,
he's literally
react
royalty
here.
also, so who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Well, hey man, speaking of royalty, I'm skipping ahead to Shanks because we're in a flashback here, which, you know, we can go through the flashback a little bit before we get all the way to Shanks, but we're in the flashback piece right now, and not only that, we're like flashback within a flashback. Yeah, it's crazy. So we're back 14 years ago. Loki's explaining the whole you know, situation of what happened when Harold got stabbed. Him and Harul come in together and they break in to say hi because they were summoned, and they see him being stabbed by a bunch of other giants, and they're like, what is happening?
I mean, my interpretation is what we were saying before. I think that he was corrupted, or they were corrupted, or all of the, like, in some way, somebody got corrupted by Emu's power, and that's why this dude is getting stabbed now. But what I still don't kind of understand, like, why was it blamed on Loki afterwards? If clearly, like, Jorul gets out of this and knows, does it have something to do with the sword in his head? Like we mentioned before, like, oh, the amnesia, because he got stabbed, he's not remembering the events. So when Jorul woke up, it was like, oh shit, like Harold's dead, Loki's here, everyone's dead, Loki must have killed him, type of thing.
I think that is probably what happened. But to dissect this a little bit more, it's interesting to see that, like, Harold, I don't know if this is just like a weird way he's standing silhouette wise, but it looks like he has one horn, right? Only one?
I thought that was his mustache.
Oh,
more likely, honestly.
Oh, never mind.
But because I remember before he's like, oh yeah, he ripped out his horns.
He ripped out his horns.
I don't think that's a horn.
Okay,
I think that's just his mustache.
All right, never mind. But then it cuts to, in the same panel, Shanks here on Elbaf. This is, so I believe this is like before, well, it has to be before the whole moment where Shanks gives his straw hat to Luffy, right? Because he has his other arm. And
yeah,
speaking of,
and on top of that, this is 14 years ago.
Yeah.
The thing with that would make Luffy like 5 years old here, and he gave Luffy the hat when he was like 8 years old. So this is like
lines
definitely before that.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say about the arm. So I had actually had a theory about this, and I said this when we kind of like were introduced to the Holy Knights like early on in this arc, but Shanks's arm has this like mark on it, right? Like on his like elbow almost, like you can see in the panel where he's like bathing with Gaban. And
I didn't even notice that. You're right.
Yeah, dude. And so the I had said before that the Holy Knights had said like, oh, you need like the mark of the underworld in order to like use the transportation circles, or like the summoning circles, all those things, right? And so my theory was that part of the reason why Shanks lost his arm, it was not just because, oh my god, like Shanks was weak and it's a plot hole, whatever. Like, this is Oda like covering his tracks and being like, oh look, Shanks purposely, no, he's not only seeking level, he purposely let his arm get chopped off, yes, as a symbol to the new era, but also to probably get rid of this mark so that he would not be attached to the Holy Land. So I would imagine that that's the mark.
I love that theory, and this makes so much more sense, especially if we're seeing it here. I think you're right. I think this is like a confirmation of that. It also like goes to show how good of a writer Oda is, because obviously he didn't have that planned way back when he first cut Shanks' arm off.
No, I don't think so.
And I feel like for so long he's been trying to think of a way. It's like, how do I make it believable that Shanks lost his arm on purpose? And then he tried to do it with Whitebeard, where he's like, oh, I bet it on the New Age. And people were like, that's still like kind of like whatever. Like you didn't have to do that. So now this makes sense. And I was like, okay, yeah, he wanted to lose his arm. He also says in this chapter too that he had met what was it, Harudin he had met Harold at Marijois. So he's clearly been there before when he was much younger too. So I wonder why he ended up going back there, if he was summoned there because he is part Celestial Dragon. Was he there because he was like, it was part of the reverie from way back when? Like, what was he doing at Marijois so long ago?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like, I think more than likely he was like kind of trapped there in a way. Like maybe, you know, the severing of the arm thing could also be like his way of like not being tracked by Emu anymore, and not being like, because we know that Emu could just like take over bodies now, you know what I mean? Like, what if that is the thing that like connects him, and so he wasn't able to not be in correlation with the Celestial Dragons until that happened. So it's like, I don't know if he like necessarily like wanted to be there, if he was like going to like for a certain purpose, or because like he was called because of his lineage. And that might have been like what Roger told him when he cried or whatever, like, hey, you're a Celestial Dragon, you gotta go. Yeah. Like
I mean, and Gaban says it here too. It's like, oh, you were a child of destiny, which maybe when Shanks thought that at the time, it was like, oh, you're like the next Joy Boy. That's why Roger gave him the hat also. And then later on he figured out it's like, oh no, you're like a child of destiny, but not the child of destiny. Like that person's still out there, which obviously is Luffy now. We know that. But it's also cool that we get to see a little bit later in the chapter. So we still don't know what it is yet. But obviously, Loki's devil fruit is going to be very important. It was chained up here. They mention in this chapter. So I feel like maybe within the next, like, 2 or 3 chapters, we might kind of figure out what it is and why it's so important. I've heard people throwing out, like, it's other variations of the Nika fruit, which I'm like, while that would be kind of cool, like, I feel like it kind of, like, makes it like the fruit itself not as like significant, because if so many people have like the same fruit, like I'm okay more with people finding different ways to get the power, but if everyone can just kind of like get the fruit and then get it, because like if there's 2 variants of this fruit, what stops it from being 3 or 4 or 10 or 20 or 100, right? Which I don't know, maybe that's the direction Oda's gonna take the story, but I just don't think it's a Nika fruit.
I mean, well, I think it's more so that like Loki thinks that he is Nika. Like, I don't know if it's like the fruit needs to be connected to that necessarily. I think it's just like what he believes. So, I mean, we know that there already is like one Nika fruit. Like, I don't think there's gonna be like, I mean, there might be like a dark counterpart or something. Who knows? I mean, it's an evil-looking chest at the very least. I like that devil fruits are in like these little chests now. This also just proves. I know some people were thinking like maybe King Harold had the fruit and then like Loki killed him for it in like fruit. A literal sense and like absorbed the power somehow, kind of like the Blackbeard Whitebeard thing. But this is confirmation that they just had it like away or whatever, and we see King Harold at the end of the chapter wrecking havoc, just like
kind of an asshole.
He's kind of an asshole, dude. Just like going around. So this is what, like, is that 109 years ago? So this is, I don't know if we've ever seen this era of One Piece, like the timeline wise.
Not really. I don't think they've really referenced it. I think kind of before this we would get like, I mean, I guess you know who would be alive around now is Dr. Kureha, but I don't think that'll come into play at all.
That'd be really
but
funny.
I just thought that'd be kind of fun if we see her in this flashback.
That's true.
Because like, who knows? We actually met her right after Little Garden 2, which is where we met the giants. So if she comes into play at some point, that'd be like pretty funny.
Yeah.
But I don't really think so. I did like that we got also kind of like 45 years of age is about 15 in human years. So they're basically, they live like 3 times as long.
Yeah.
I mean, and it makes sense. The kids that are there, they're like 20 years old. If we divide that by 3, they're like 6 years old. Makes perfect sense. So
yeah, exactly.
Now we have a little bit of a timeline to work with.
Yeah, it's true. Now we have like a little like scaling with them, but you know, this is kind of like a flashback within a flashback. Like, I don't know how deep we're gonna get of King Harold, because eventually I'm sure this is gonna like tell King Harold's story and then go into like maybe more Elbaf lore, and then how King Harold became in cahoots with the government, because we know that Emu said like, oh, King Harold, like, you betrayed us, whatever. So like there's something there where it seems like King Harold was like protecting Elbaf, but also being like, oh, we gotta like kind of align with the world government so they don't like kill
Loki
us or
says
something.
it. Loki says it earlier in the chapter 2 when him and Jarul are walking up. He's like, oh, it's hard to care about the whims of a government dog. So he's like definitely working with them. And it's not really a secret that he's working with the government either. Right. Like, clearly if like Loki knows it. So, but it's probably to what extent we don't know it. And I mean, I think it is kind of what I said before, like, I don't know, months ago at this point, where the government's using Harold to make the country weaker by making them all pacifists, because they couldn't outright beat them because of their strength. So instead they had to, like, you know, trick them into being weaker on their own and being like, oh, this is the right way to do things. You have to be peaceful so we can all get along. But I think it was all a trick.
Yeah. Well, we'll see in the next chapter. I mean, listen, let me tell you one thing. We've been saying break next week, no break next week, break. Like, we have no idea.
I don't even know where it's at anymore. Clearly we're unreliable sources.
Yeah, no, don't listen to us. But I think there's no break next week.
I think there's no break next week also, but who knows at this point? We've been wrong too many times to count.
For real.
But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. let us know your theories about one, who's stronger, Zoro or Sanji, and then two, about Loki's devil fruit, because I'm still very curious on what people think about that.
Yeah, people thought that the thumbnail last time was like rage bait, dude.
Just you don't even know. Yeah. You don't even know. But yeah, until the next one.
Peace.